So we're going to have a look at rearranging equations. So just simple equations to start us off, and we're just going to scrape the rust off some of those old algebra skills. The first thing I would say is if you're reliant on formula triangles, to do rearranging, okay, they do kind of work, but they won't rearrange some of the equations you've got to deal with. And to be perfectly frank, if you can learn to use an equation, you can learn to use a triangle, you can learn to use a formula. So we're going to start with the f equals ma equation, and I'm going to give you some simple rules to do algebra with. When you rearrange an equation, okay, so this is where you, for example, want to find a for acceleration rather than force, which is what the equation currently gives us. So we need a to be on its own, and we need it to be on top. And what I mean by that is it's not underneath in a fraction. Well, there's no fractions here, so it is on top, but it's not on its own. So the thing I've got to move is this m. Now, honestly, it doesn't matter what any of the letters mean at this point. M is for maths, but algebra doesn't care about those things. You can have any letters here. The rule's the same. This is where algebra is better than formula triangles, because for formula triangles, you've got to make sure you get the letters right. For this, you've just got to use algebra to rearrange it. Same rules every time. Okay, so what we need to do is move the m so it goes across the equal sign. Now, the temptation for that sometimes is people go, okay, right, so, well, what I actually need is a. So we'll start with a equals. Right, do not do that. Because the next step you'll do is this. A equals, well, the m's still there, and I'll divide by the f. That is actually entirely wrong. It's the wrong way up completely. Don't do that. Notice that these two things say on top on its own. They don't say it has to be on the left. Just consider one stupid, quick, little thing, but this. If f equals ma, does ma equal f? Well, if you're not sure, let's just try it. 4 times 2... Yeah, that's true as a sum, isn't it? 8 equals 4 times 2. We could also write that as 4 times 2 equals 8. It's exactly the same thing. It doesn't matter which way around you write it. The same is true for letters. Incidentally, if you're rearranging equations and you're not sure if you've rearranged an equation correctly, do the same thing. Put some really simple, like 2 times 4 equals 8 in instead of the letters. Rearrange the numbers and see if it works for you. Okay, let's get back to what we're doing. I wanted to rearrange this for a. I don't want to move the a because it goes wrong. Everybody still does this, and everybody gets it wrong. Leave the a where it is. You want it on its own. Doesn't matter what side it's on. You can switch it round after. Move the m. Okay, so the next rule is down here. When you're doing something like this, we think do the opposite. So at the moment, it's m times a or a times m. Remember, 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 4 is 8. It doesn't matter when you're multiplying which way around things go. We are multiplying by m. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So when it goes across the equal sign, it doesn't go here. You don't do that. Okay? What you do is that's multiplying, you divide. So what we do is we move the m down there. Now, it helps, I think, to actually have these in your head as being movable letters. So I could pick that m up and pop it underneath there. That's entirely and completely correct. Notice it's the exact opposite of what we did when you did it the other way around. So you've got to be able to get these basics right. Otherwise, you're going to get simple questions wrong, just for the want of a little bit of basic algebra. So follow that rule. I have not got a equals, I've got equals a. There is no difference. If you really want to write it the other way around, we can now just say, okay, so a equals f over m. They are the same thing. Okay? So the thing you want to find has got to be on top, it's got to be on its own. Let's just see what we do if we want to find m. Surprise, surprise, it's no different. Is it on top? Yeah, then leave it where it is. Move the a. It's times a, so it goes across the equal sign and becomes divide a. So f divided by a gives us m. Dead easy. Okay, right, let's move on from f equals ma. Let's have a look at weight equals mass times gravity. So first things first, this multiplication symbol can be ignored, but it doesn't have to be, it doesn't matter. Let's say I want g. What do? We leave g where it is. We don't do g equals. So have a little go at this yourself, but if you end up with G equals M over W, you've ignored my instruction. So try it, pause the video now, rearrange this for G. Okay, leave the G where it is. The weight hasn't moved, there's no reason to move that. The only thing you're moving is the M, nothing else changes. So the M ends up being divide by instead of multiply. It goes across the equals, you do the opposite, it becomes divide by M. If you want to write that the other way round, you absolutely can. Just reverse the two sides. Notice it's still W divided by M. You're not changing them round. People do weird things when it comes to algebra. And it really just comes down to practice. Okay, third simple equation. We'll get to this soon, but it's one everybody's familiar with. Speed is distance over time, but it's one that people rely on formula triangles for, and they don't need to, but they do make one stupid mistake with the algebra. Okay, let's say that firstly I want D. Again, we don't start D equals. If you've written that down, that's probably the third time you've done it, give yourself a slap on the wrist. Leave D where it is. Is it on top? Yes. Is it on its own? No. The problem is T, that's what we've got to move. So let's take the T and shift it up. So everything else stays still, it's only the T we're moving. No reason to move anything else. Okay, now I could, if I wanted, just do this, leave a little space there. It's divided by T, so now it becomes times by T. Incidentally, it would be no difference if I did this. It becomes times by T. Yeah, S times T, T times S, 2 times 4, 4 times 2. Doesn't matter. Divide, that matters, but multiply can go in any order. So distance equals speed times time. All right, that's one thing. Let's imagine that we want T now. I've got to work the time out. Again, we've got to follow those rules. Is it on top? Is it on its own? All right, it's not on its own because of the D. It's also not on top because, look, it's underneath quite clearly. So now we need to move it. Okay, here's some things that people do wrong. They will move the D. They might move the D up there. They might move the D down there. It doesn't matter, because what you're left with is 1 over T. It doesn't help. Now it's on its own, but it's not on the top. It's useless. So here's the other thing that people do wrong. They go, I've got to move the T, so the T goes underneath there. No, wrong. The other thing that people do is they go, I've got to move the T, so they're just getting confused at this point, and they're not thinking about moving one thing at a time. That's the key. Don't move anything else. The S isn't moving, so write it in the same place. The D isn't moving. Write it in the same place. The thing we want to move is the T. Move the T and nothing else. Notice this is exactly the same step as we did before. I could also do this. There's no difference between those two steps. Okay, now I've moved the T, I've solved problem 1, it is on top. I have not solved problem 2, it's still not on its own. So get it on top first, then get it on its own. How do I get rid of the S? I need to shift it across the equals sign. It's times S. What do? I think do the opposite. Leave the T where it is. Leave the D where it is. Times S becomes divide by S. Right, now you've got it. As soon as you've rearranged the equation, you can bung your numbers in. Okay, this is something you've got to practice. So if you see something you're rusty on, it's something to check dead carefully every time you do it. Don't shy away from rearranging equations, and do not go back to triangles. You're going to meet equations that they won't work for. So if you can't do algebra with these, you're going to struggle with something more complicated. Learn to do algebra while it's simple, and then it's no more complicated when you get onto something that's a little bit more complex than these equations are.